I'm Mary Rosine Beasley, and I'm going to discuss some political concerns that I have. These are recent political concerns. I have found out in the last few days that it appears to me that our election was rigged by a company called Dominion. I find it very shameful, scary, that Dominion was able, I guess several people hired Dominion, signed contracts, and allowed Dominion into their counties and their states so that the election could be rigged. Now, this is what I think now. I think 4 years ago that Trump won by a lot more than we will ever know. And I think 4 years ago that they were sure that Hillary had it in the bag, that Hillary was going to win, and then something happened. And I think what happened is, at the last minute, a bunch of people in places like the Midwest that were Democrats said, oh, we do not want Hillary. She appears to be way too crooked. And I don't understand why Hillary's not been investigated more, prosecuted, and put in. I think she should be in prison along with Bill Clinton, and Bill should be in his own place. That's my opinion. Now, in the last few days, I have heard about this woman who was named Sidney Powell. She's an amazing woman, apparently. She's been a federal prosecutor. And maybe she stood alone at one time and nobody really wanted to listen to what she knew. But then they realized they could trust her. And I, at the local level, am in the same situation. I have people that want to silence me. I've also had people send me anonymous emails about things that are going on in Jersey Village. So I want to share a little bit with you because I want people to know that I have been investigating this Jersey Village situation for about 2.5 years. And I don't like what I see. And what people forget, the citizens and the residents forget, is that the city council or people in Congress, they spend our hard-earned tax dollars for all of this nonsense. And in my opinion, we have got to get term limits. The problem is the people that get to vote on it happen to be the Congress for themselves. And then in Austin, I live in Texas, guess who votes on term limits? It's the people that are in Austin that like being there. So we got a problem. We got to figure out how we get around it. And I know there is a way. It's called the Convention of the States. And as far as I'm concerned, it's time. Because if we don't, I will be happy to secede from the Union because this nonsense has got to stop. And I ran for Jersey Village City Council. I ran for state representative, District 135. I have been a Republican for 53 years. I have 4 college degrees in 3 different fields. And I am a lot more qualified than good old boy Justin Ray was. That Justin was backed by a lot of money. And I understand that over $1 million was spent to help Justin win. And Justin barely lost. I thought he would lose by a lot. He lost by only 317 votes, and I doubt there's any mail-in ballot fraud in this area of Harris County. I believe there's a lot of mail-in ballot fraud in Sheila Jackson Lee's area of Harris County. I'm pretty sure how she stays in office. I suspect that's what Sylvester Turner does. That's what I think is mail-in ballot fraud. It happens that in Texas, as I understand it, no one signed up for Dominion. But we have our own methods of voter fraud. And I am aware of these things because I'm very active in the Harris County Republican Party. And I've told people, I haven't told them how to vote. I've said, please do your own research. The problem is, I found out now that I think that some of these political candidates hire companies to purge or sanitize them off on the internet. It happens that there was an article, it was written, I believe, October the 1st by David Yates. And I think that somebody hired a firm to get it to not disappear but go to page 10. The name of the article is Lawsuits, Bankruptcy, and Back Taxes. Questions surround Texas House candidate Justin Ray. Okay, so it goes on about some of the problems that Justin had, but it seems to be gone, this article. I called David Yates, and I told him what I had found out. And David said there was nothing he could do. And I said, well, don't you want to repost this so that it would be easier for people to find the article? And he didn't seem very interested. And how would anybody know that there's something out there on the Southeast Texas Record for that? I never even heard of the Southeast Texas Record until this article was there. So how would I know to go and look? How would the average voter know to go and look on the Southeast Texas Record for this article about Justin Ray? Now, I'm aware that another article on the Southeast Texas Record is there. Eric Forrester, the police chief who was fired last October, filed a lawsuit against the city of Jersey Village where I live. Well, Eric Forrester, if you go and look at the Southeast Texas Record, you will see that he had a problem with a city council person. And if you go and look, and I guess if you Google Southeast Texas Record, you Google Eric Forrester, you Google something about a lawsuit, you will find this. And I recommend that you do, because then you'll know more about why he filed the lawsuit. It had to do with a city and council member, and part of it, the problem was he was interfering with the police department, which I understand is against the city charter of Jersey Village. So I recommend that you do your own research. Okay, now, James Singleton, who won by 3 votes, used to work for the Jersey Village Police Department. I had requested his internal affairs investigation report a couple of years ago, and I was told there was nothing responsive to that request, which I thought was very, very strange. Where is the internal affairs investigation report? Why is it missing? Who took it? I also asked for his personnel file. I did a public information request for his personnel file. Well, I don't understand why it's gone. And then James Singleton recently tried to tell me, because I asked for it again, because government records are supposed to be archived somewhere. Why was this not scanned into a computer? Why is there not a copy anywhere? James Singleton tried to tell me that this report never existed. And I wrote to James and I said, I know who wrote the report, the original one. It was Detective Sean Horton. And I also know that Officer Mark Zatkin recreated the report. In fact, here is the memo of the recreation of that report. It was in Eric Forrester's personnel file, which I did a public information request. It was in there, as I recall. Okay? So I have the report that James Singleton claims is not there, was never there. So does that mean James Singleton is lying? Does that mean that? I think it does. Now, what I want to recommend to everybody is if you see something that you think is not right, speak up, do something, say something. I can't do all of this in Jersey Village by myself. I have been writing to state agencies to explain that there's something not right. I've written to Houston Chronicle reporters explaining there's something not right. Please help us. But nobody seems to care. I guess they're all busy, or they'll have an excuse and it's the coronavirus, whatever. Okay, so I have done so much. Now, I believe that the corruption in Jersey Village, Harris County, the United States of America is now on steroids. I helped the A-team to run. And now, will they run? Why would they run? It seems like we can't get a Republican in office. And I think it's because of the voter fraud, especially in Sheila Jackson Lee's district. They harvest votes in her district, District 18. I have zip codes for that area, and there's also an area at Cypresswood. There's 14 nursing assisted living places, at least 14 on Cypresswood, which is in a different part of Harris County. So I think that somebody is harvesting votes. And I'm going to tell you something else. Joe Dana ran for Harris County Sheriff. During the primary, he got 8,000 mail-in ballots, and during the runoff, and some people didn't even know there was a runoff, he got 16,000 mail-in ballots. Do you think there's a possibility somebody harvested votes? I do. So who's going to stop and investigate it? Is the Department of Justice going to come? I mean, James Singleton lost by 3 votes, and I showed there was mail-in ballot fraud in May of 2018. And I reported all of that to the State of Texas Election Division. A friend of mine was in the count room. She saw some things that didn't seem right. She reported to the State of Texas Election Division, and nobody came to help us. Who's going to help us? Does anybody care? Does anybody know? We don't have a newspaper in Jersey Village. So the Jersey Village city council members get to do whatever they want to do. They sign contracts for all kinds of things, and the citizens don't even know about it. And when we have special meetings, and the special meetings, they post it on the city bulletin board on a Friday afternoon, and then they have this special meeting at 5:30 or 6 p.m., but it doesn't matter because nobody knows about the special meeting. And on top of that, it used to be that the citizens couldn't even comment until Bill Beasley spoke up one night and argued or protested to the city attorney, Scott Bounds, and Scott said, Bill's right. Citizens should be able to say something. It is our hard-earned tax dollars. And what is worse than that is that when there's a vacancy on city council, they get to just appoint their friends to the vacancy. So now we get the good old boy network that just goes on, and nobody has a clue. Well, I got an anonymous email, and in it, it says, Forrester also knew the permits for the new brewery that went around the proper channels. He was only trying to do the right thing by the public. That's about Andrew Mitchum, our current mayor. I stood up in city council and protested about this, and I said this is a conflict of interest, and the Jersey Village City Council members all voted for the changes except for one person. He recused himself, and I wrote him a private message, and he told me, he said, I'm an investor. I mean, it wasn't much, but he's an investor. Well, I wrote to the entire group, city council. Bobby Warren, as I recall, wrote back and said he was not an investor. And as I recall, nobody else wrote back. So does that mean somebody else is an investor? I even said, is somebody in your family an investor? And as I recall, Bobby Warren's the only person that wrote back. So now I know that he claims he's not an investor, and one of the city council people said yes. They didn't have much, but yes, which was the right thing to do. Now, Bobby Warren is an attorney, so he would know that he cannot lie. That's what he would know. He's not supposed to lie. Of course, I'm not sure that every attorney out there has never lied. And I'm concerned that Joe Dana has chosen to be a crooked cop. I did a public information request of his personnel file, and I found out the details of why he was fired for lying, and he has done his best to tell everybody it was an unfounded rumor, and I don't see it that way. He's on the Brady list. That means he cannot testify in Harris County courts. Now, why would we want a leader in Harris County who cannot testify in Harris County courts, and he was fired for lying when he was a constable? Why would we want somebody like that in leadership? I don't understand it. So I'm going to tell you what I do when I have a concern. What I do is I write the concern. So I date it, I say to whom it may concern, I write the concern, sometimes I even have the solution, and then I sign it, and I print many, many, many copies. And then I send those, like if I'm reporting something to the state of Texas, I send it to the state of Texas Attorney General. I send it to everybody I can think of that might be willing to do something about the concern. It might be the Harris County DA, it might be the Texas Rangers, it might be the FBI, it might be, I don't know, just anybody that I think might be willing to investigate. I've written to the Houston Chronicle reporters. They seem like they're mostly interested in writing coronavirus stories. I don't understand. I'm sick. I am so sick of the coronavirus stories. You have no idea. And I think everybody else is there too. And I don't even think the coronavirus is quite what everybody thinks. I think the annual flu is the bigger problem. Anyway, I'm just letting you know that I just suggest that you write your to whom it may concern, you write the concern, you sign it, you print a lot of copies, you just get a stamp, an envelope, and mail it to whomever needs a copy. Anyway, it's simple, and I'm tired of the corruption in the United States of America. Thank you, and have a blessed day.